Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another night of What the Church Could Be. So glad to come back here after a couple weeks and settling things with the family and everything that's going on, and just connecting with you guys. It's such an honor and privilege to be able to do this each Thursday. So, guys, here we go. We're going to get right into this. If it's your first time checking in with us and checking us out, welcome to our church. I'm Pastor Wes. I co-pastor my wife, Nicole, and our lovely family is just excited to come from our home streaming this live and being able to connect with you. Go about 25-30 minutes. This is not your typical Bible study. The title says it all, what the church could be. We want to challenge ourselves as a church to do better and be better. We believe in the power of church, but we also understand church can have flawed ideas that violate the love of God and the best interest of humanity. And we challenge those ideas that we can shed off so we can see God more clearly and see love more clearly and see dignity, respect, and empathy more clearly is what we strive for. And that's what Thursday night's all about. So thank you guys for checking us out and coming in. Hold on one second, guys. Let me adjust my camera for a second here. There we go. All right, cool. Just make sure I don't look lopsided or crooked and things like that. Sometimes I forget to double, triple check before we get started, but thank you for your understanding. We're going to get right into this thing though. So, what we started picking up where we left off we started talking about this idea about being a peacemaker and being a preserver of peace actually. And being a peacemaker is often viewed as weak. When you talk about being humble and meek and possibly having compromise for the greater good, and that can be as simple as I'm in an argument with my spouse and I need to compromise a little bit so they can have their part, and it creates peace in our home. Excuse me. And we'll get into some of that in the series, those little smaller things you can apply. I don't mean like simple, like minute things. They're very important. Those on a smaller scale when it comes to humanity is we can navigate those things is what that is. So let me get into this though. Let's start this up. We started with Matthew 5:13 from the Message. Matthew 5:13 from the Message. Let's kind of recap. We've been off for a couple weeks here, just kind of being able to kind of get back in the flow of this. So I'm going to recap a little bit and then get right into the meat of what I want to talk about tonight. Matthew 5:13 from the Message says, "Let me tell you why you're here. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? You've lost your usefulness and will end up in the garbage." Now, when I first heard this and what we're stepping away from, I thought this was all about appeasing God and keeping God happy. And then I finally realized it wasn't about that. And that was the whole revelation of Jesus. We see that when we look at Matthew 11:28 through 30. I'm going to read that to you. It says, "Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." Now, what is he talking about here? This idea of everything's about appeasing God. If I keep sin out of my life, God will bless me. Excuse me. Excuse me, thought I was going to sneeze there for a moment. False alarm. If I keep the bad out and the evil them and touch not the unclean, God will bless me. Everything was about making sure God doesn't get ticked off at me so I can get blessed and avoid getting cursed. Well, that becomes a very toxic, fear-driven, self-centered way to live life, because now life is not about humanity or having a better world. It's about just making sure God doesn't stay mad at me. That's also a very selfish, our concept of God becomes a very selfish God, where God is so absorbed with himself that he needs everybody to be perfect, everything around him to be worshiping and bowing down to him. And that's not the Jesus we see. It's the God religion presents. Like, I don't subscribe anymore to a God that needs us for all eternity to sit around the throne and bow to him and worship him. And that doesn't change my gratefulness to him. Boy, it actually makes me respect him a lot more, because all of a sudden I can see that where I see that kind of love where God's like, I don't need you to sit around my throne for all eternity, bow down and worship me. I'm not that self-absorbed. And all of a sudden I see, oh, God is meek. God is humble. God gives a rip about other people. God actually cares about humanity, and that does something in me where I don't need that in my life. I don't need my ego. When my ego shows up and demands, respect my ego, I don't need that. See, that's what keeps continuously changing about my ideas about God is this humble, this peaceful God to be around. And that is so beautiful. That makes me love him even more. That makes me actually want to be grateful and worship him even more. Actually, that has the opposite effect on me. And it makes me want to be more devoted to him than ever, because I can respect a God like that. I can admire a God like that. And so that's when we come around when it talks about being the salt seasoning of the earth. Man, we want to be preservers of peace. And we see that in this revelation of Christ. That's why we talk about 1 Corinthians 2:16. For who can know the Lord's thoughts? Who knows enough to teach him? But we understand these things, for we have the mind of Christ. We can understand Matthew 5:13. We can understand what it means to be a peacemaker, because we're starting from the place of, oh, I look at Jesus. And we got into that the last time we were here a couple weeks ago. I look at Jesus, and Jesus is my blueprint for being a peacemaker. And so let me actually do, the other reference, of course, I go to is Isaiah 55:8-9. Let me go ahead and read it. It says, my thoughts are nothing like your thoughts, says the Lord, and my ways are far beyond anything you can imagine. For just as the heavens are higher than the earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. What is Jesus doing here? He's presenting a higher way to do life. See, being a person of peace and being a peacemaker, that goes against our selfish parts of us, our lower self. And what we do is when we choose to tap into being a peacemaker instead of a war maker, is what that is. Instead of fight, we got to fight them. We got to fight this political party. We got to fight the Democrats. We got to fight the Republicans. We got to fight the sexism. We got to fight this. And what I mean by sexism, we got to fight the men. We got to fight the women. We got to fight this group. We got to fight. It's always fighting somebody, but never arriving at the resolution of peace. And I'm not saying that there isn't things, well, you don't know my plight and you don't know my suffering. I got to fight every day to survive. I don't. I'm going to just tell you flat out, there's certain things I don't comprehend and I don't understand. So I'm not going to pretend, but I'm also not talking about that aspect of it. And there is a place where you do have to fight for what is right. You got to fight for your right to party, as they used to say. But I'm not denoting that. But there's this mentality. We talked about, Jesus said, you don't know what spirit of manner you are. And more what I'm putting in the context of, I'm talking about church is what I'm specifically talking about. More so tonight and the previous night we talked about, and next week I'll be talking about this idea of the church at war. How much war and bloodshed has been done in the name of God when that's not God at all. That's more what I'm talking about. The very thing that you're upset about being, we got to fight against. Yeah, it's this idea of the church at war, and our even our very politics in our nation that is right now disassembling things like diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. It's the very thing that's unraveling peace is what it's doing. And I'm not saying there are some of the biggest moments of, sadly, tragically, the most biggest moments of peace came after the murder and the martyr of someone who was pushing for it. The whole Bible is written off that. I mean, the whole understanding of Christ, Jesus was so committed to living a life of peace that he was literally murdered for it. Paul was murdered for it. Peter was murdered for it. All the disciples were murdered for this idea of a peace, nonviolent world. And yet, I'm not saying I want to sign up for that, but I do want to push for it. So that's really where I'm trying to go with some of this. Let's get into tonight. What is something when we talk about that? You don't know what spirit of manner you're of. When we talked about that in Luke 9 last time we were together. One of the easiest ways to start building a life of peace is to show people you care. Yeah, I'm bringing it back real simple. I don't want this to be super complicated. It's to take time to show people you care. And care also means being considerate of others. If you want to be a person that shows a nonviolent world and brings peace, you got to show you care and you're considerate of others. Now, here's the thing. When you read the word considerate, this definition came up and I was like, man, I understand what the word considerate means, but sometimes when you go back to its just original on its face definition, you get a whole different look at it. Considerate is careful not to cause inconvenience or hurt to others. I am considerate not to cause, and I am careful not to cause inconvenience or hurt to others. Wow. I realize now each day when I'm starting to get up, how can I not cause inconvenience, not only hurt, but inconvenience to others. It's about going around and making life a little easier for everybody else. Well, what about me? What about you? That's your lower self talking. Because life is not about you. Life is about others. And in the others, we experience the richness of life for ourselves. Let's go to Philippians 2:3-4. Philippians 2, verse 3-4, it says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others better than yourselves, or putting others first is what it's actually talking about. So let me read it that way. Be humble, thinking of others first, and putting others before yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests. It didn't say don't look out for your own interests. It said don't look out only for your own interest, but take an interest in others too. See, care has to be something strategic. It has to be something intentional. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort, is what it is. So the Bible here, of course, Paul's taking this moment to exhort the Philippian church, hey, make sure you stay out of selfishness and realize life is beyond you. Care about others. And how does that go into peace? Well, when I care about what others care about instead of just myself, it disarms people in a positive way. It disarms the distrust, the defensiveness. When people feel cared about, trust goes up. And when trust is high, peace is way easier to obtain. When the trust is low and people don't feel cared about, it's pretty much near impossible to get to a place of peace. Now take that and apply that in so many areas of your life, so many relationships in your life. For you to live in peace, you've got to show people you actually care beyond your own interest and care something more than yourself. And when people see that, they begin to trust you. Galatians 6, let me read this and give you one more scripture. Then I'm going to kind of go through some points here is what I want to do to show you how to apply this. Galatians 6:1, it says, and I'm going to read through verse 3. It says, dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help the person back into the right path. And be careful not to fall in the same temptation yourself. Share each other's burdens, and in the same way, you obey the law of Christ. If you think you are too important to help someone, you are only fooling yourselves. You're not that important. If you think you're too busy, if you think you don't have time, if you think that every time what I got to do is all I can do and you don't have time to help others in this world, man, you've missed the whole point of Christ. Man, it's inconvenient when you see someone going through their stuff and going through their issues or acting a fool. And yet you don't have time to help them out. is what it's saying, and help them that's suffering, and not being judgmental. That's why he said, be careful you don't fall into yourself. Remember the fact that you're broken too. Remember the fact that you have issues too. And people have taken the time to help you out. I remember when I was going for a very dark phase in my life, and I just broke down mentally. And it took people around me taking time out of their schedule, because in part of me, that brokenness was causing dysfunction in my life, by the way. I wasn't at my best character, my best version of myself either. And yet people took time to restore me. People took time to heal me. People took time to show they care about me and lift me out of it. And it was a big thing to me. That helped, that nudge in the right direction, that lifting up in that moment helped set me back on course instead of completely blowing apart and crashing in life. I am so grateful this. So there's a point when you share in each other's burdens. When people go through things, you support them, even when they're upset, even when they're not handling it right, because none of us do. You're there and you lift others, because we're never too important to get beyond that. Let's read Philippians 4, verse 4 through 5. It says, always be full of joy in the Lord. Paul's saying here again in the Philippian church. I say it again, rejoice. Let everyone see that you are considerate in all you do. Remember, the Lord is coming soon. Be considerate in all you do. Let people see that you consider others. So we're considerate and we're careful not to cause inconvenience or hurt to others. Man, just walking around thinking about that all day long. I'm considerate. And I'm careful not to cause inconvenience or hurt others. Now, this doesn't mean be nosy. Now, when you get involved in other people's business and helping people out, it doesn't mean be nosy, doesn't mean be messy or judgmental. We're not talking about that. Sometimes, me to support some people, I need to ask them, how do you need me to show up for you today? Some people don't like to tell me everything they're going through. I'm okay, I don't push. I'm just letting them know, hey, I'm there. I'm here for you. If you need anything, I'm here. Sometimes as simple as that. But this isn't an excuse to be nosy and to be all in people's business. I always throw that out there. Because some people use that as an opportunity. Well, I'm here to help you out. Okay, that's pompous a little bit. Come in with humility is what we want to do. It takes time and energy to care. That's another point I want to make. It takes time and energy to show people you care. Therefore, we must be intentional and strategic about it. You have to carve out time to show you care about people. And it's tough because even me, like a pastor, I don't get to everybody because I'm limited in my capacity. What do you mean you're limited in your capacity? There's only so much energy I can exert in a 24-hour period. And I have to be selective. And it's not because I don't care. It's not because I don't want to get to everybody. It's the human factor that we all suffer from in one regard, that we all experience. Burnout's real. So I have to make sure I keep my priorities. Like, it was tough. Here it is, taking the 2 weeks off from maternity to be there for Nicole and our daughter, and possibly even more in this next week and the following week. I'm having to reshuffle my schedule and everything else. And it means I don't have time to get to every single person like I want to as much as I do. I don't have time to pray with everybody like I normally would want to. I'm going to try. I'm going to give the energy, but at the end of the day, first base, home is first base, the first priority. So yes, there's that part where it takes time, it takes energy, and you have to say, God, today direct my energy. That's what I get to. That's also why, though, like when the apostles were talking over in Acts, the widows were not being taken care of. They were not getting the food. So they raised up Stephen and along with a bunch of other guys to help do that, because they're like, we can't pull away from preaching the word of God. So we're gonna raise up other people to help us meet those needs. And that's what I have to say. Maybe I can't be there, but you know what? In our church, I can raise someone else up and they can be there just as much. So that way, no matter what, the needs are taken care of, because it was never meant to be a one-person job. And that's the same thing we do. It's you just got to be strategic with that care, and you have to be intentional with it. It doesn't just happen automatically. It doesn't just fall on you automatically. You have to really say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to invest in this relationship at this moment, at this time, because I believe that's where God is intuitively leading me to. And some of it, a lot of times, it's very simple. How do I know God's leading to? Does the opportunity present itself? And do you seize that opportunity? Do you seize the opportunity when you see an older lady struggling to get through the door with a cart at the grocery store and you open the door for her? That's just seizing that opportunity. It's right there in front of you. Dude, take a moment. You're like, but I gotta hurry up. I gotta get my groceries. I'm running late for already getting back to the house. You got 2 seconds to hold that door open. If your life is that busy, maybe you need to rearrange it a little bit. The other thing is, it's something that's learned and something we must grow in. To live and show care, it's something that has to be learned, and it's something you must grow in. It doesn't just fall on you automatically. You don't become great at showing care to people and seizing those opportunities. It has to grow, and you become more strategic in it, and learning and developing, okay, what does care look like? What does care look like for this person? Because it doesn't look the same for everybody. And so you have to grow in it and be intentional by practicing this. You're going to have to practice this lifestyle. But each time it brings more peace. When your spouse knows you care about them genuinely, it brings more peace. There's less arguments. When your kids know you genuinely care about them, they tend to actually surprisingly behave a little better. You'll be surprised how much things just go better because people feel safer around you. And not just safe from physical side of it, emotionally safe, mentally safe from people. You know, a coworker doesn't feel like you're going to undermine them and try to steal the promotion or try to, make them look bad or try to get them fired. That creates a lot more peace. It must be genuine by being selfless. If you're just simply showing care to get something from someone, you're not showing care at all. Care has to be given without expecting anything in return. Is it genuine care? Do you genuinely care about this person? And make it selfless. Some areas of interest to help you where's my starting place? How do I do this? And we may end a little early tonight. How do I do this? Areas of interest. You can start with finding out, what do people enjoy in life? What matters to them, I think, is the better thing. If you got a mom, well, you got a starting place. Kids, dad, and it's not just moms, it's dads too. You got a person, what matters to them? Well, their job matters to them. They're in this place, they're pushing this time in their life for their career. Well, that matters to them. So you show care and you interest, you ask about it, you see how you can support them in that area. They may be starting a business. Whatever it is, you look for what really, truly people enjoy and what matters in that moment in time and season of their life. And you support them and you show that you care about it. That's what you be intentional about. These are 3 simple things. Number 2 is people's identity and personal growth. Getting to know who they are as the genuine person they are and investing in their growth. Something we're challenging our men's group and things like that is to pay it forward, to invest in the next generation. They don't just show up ready. People, I can't stand this thing right now that's going on. And it happens every generation. That's what's so foolish about the whole thing, history repeating itself. This next generation doesn't like to work. Well, what kind of stupid statement is that? That is the most moronic, sorry, let me back off. That's going to come out wrong. That is the most, it's not a healthy conversation that leads to solutions. If you see the next generation lacking something because maybe what happened the previous generation didn't teach. So what do? You teach, you invest, you show you care. Kids don't just wake up raised adults that know how to do everything in this world. They need parents to guide them, to invest in them. They need mentors. One of the reasons I am the person I am today, because I have a long list of people that invested chunks of their life in me. I have parents that have invested years of their life in me. I have mentors and second moms and second dads that have invested their life so much into me. I could go to you person after person, and I know I'm very fortunate because not everybody gets the opportunities I had for people to invest in me, so I never take it lightly. That's why I bring it up, not to brag about my list, but to show how fortunate, yes, I really was. And when I see other people, even my age, that didn't get that experience, you know what I do? I take all that in me and I say, okay, how can I invest and pay it forward in you? Because that's what people did for me. No matter what age you're at in your life, if you're lacking that, well, let me pour into you the best I know how and show I care and not charge for it, because everything I got was free. There were so many people that have embraced me and invested in my life and shown they care about me so deeply. But when you invest in people's personal growth, they know you care about them. And finally, the area of interest to show care and to bring about peace in your life and peace in these relationships. When people know you care about what they enjoy and what matters to them, when people know that you're willing to invest in who they are and getting to know them and care about those things, and then when people know that you care about their suffering, man, when people are going through it and you take the time to genuinely show you care about that and support them, and you're considerate in that time, boy, let me talk about bringing trust and peace on a whole new level. This is what it means to be salt and bring out the God flavors as we're talking about. So I hope you got something out of that tonight. Being involved with people suffering, though, is such an essential part. I think I'm not getting too much into that because it is what it is. We have to care about that, and we have to make sure people don't feel silenced and unheard. I think there's a lot of anger because of that, a lot of hurt, a lot of mistrust, and a lot of peace, broken peace, because people just don't care. And I think more than anything, to inject that in people and spread that more with humanity caring more, we're going to see a different earth. And it's an opportunity to leave it better than we found it. All right, that's all I got for you guys tonight. Thank you so much once again connecting with us. We'll pick this up next week, and I'm actually going to talk about character next week, how character is a peacemaker and a preserver of life. But I won't get all of that tonight. Let me not start that, but I'm going to talk about character next week. So thank you guys so much for connecting with me tonight. I pray Nicole and I send our love and blessings and pray that you have an awesome, awesome week, and I'll catch you next week, guys.